Hi, I'm Dean Bushmiller with Expanding Security, and I wanted to talk to you about confidently incorrect. And I love this forum on Reddit. This really is the 1999 study by Dunning and Krueger of the Dunning Krueger effect. And I actually read a really cool article on the Dunning Krueger effect that was written by Jonathan Jerry in 2020, and I wanted to revisit that article in this discussion right here with you. So, okay, what's the Dunning Krueger effect? Well, it explains the bias in our thinking that can have a serious impact on our career and on our studies. Now, I'm going to extend this bias into determining if we are prepared enough to take an exam, because a lot of people come to me and say, hey, I want to learn how to take this test, whether it's the CISSP or Certified Ethical Hacker, it really doesn't matter. But what happens is, if I'm weak in a domain, I tend to overestimate my ability. If I'm a domain expert, I tend to underestimate my ability. And that's kind of the problem with the teaching is I underestimate my ability, so I explain it to you. You overestimate your ability because I made it seem so simple. This discrepancy between what you believe you can get on an exam and what you will get that's the effect. And it's due to a specific problem with our brain's ability to assess its skills, because we can't assess ourselves at the level of those skills. Well, maybe we can. Now, Dr. Dunning originally said the lesson of this effect was always about how we should be humble and cautious about ourselves. The effect has more to do with being misinformed rather than being uninformed, if you will. Now, if I'm going to plop down $500, $700, or $1,000 to take an exam that I may fail, I need to get rid of my personal bias because it could be very costly to me, especially when assessing my ability to determine if I'm ready for the exam. Now, how we study also kind of perpetuates this. If you open a book and get out a highlighter and start highlighting, and then you go back and you reread your highlighting, that familiarity breeds a overconfidence. If we are reading pages of notes and go, yes, I've read this before, I've read this before, I've read this before, then we're going to get very confident in what we do, but we're going to be wrong, and this overconfidence is the Dunning-Krueger effect. So how do we short circuit this problem in what we do? Now, some of you aren't going to like this, but the reality is that we're going to convert all of our knowledge into note cards, and we're going to use those note cards with our study sessions. Now, those note cards require a very accurate glossary built by a domain expert. You can see these at the end of my videos on YouTube all the time, where I show you the terms. You need to know those particular terms beforehand so that you can be prepared for that particular topic at hand. So wait a minute, how does this work? How am I going to defeat the Dunning-Krueger effect? Well, usually what you do is you have somebody quiz you, and then you sort the cards. So if I look at the back of this card, because I'm looking at the definition, and I go, what's the definition of DHCP insertion attack? And I go, yeah, you don't know that one. Okay, well, what's the definition of DHCP? Okay, you do know that one. Now, that's great if we're quizzing together, but how do you deal with this if you're alone? So I've sorted this into the wrong pile and the right pile, but when I turn this around and I look at this for myself, what I have to do is I have to make the statement to myself, I don't know this. And I have to be really honest with myself in order to make this happen. So using note cards forces us to know what we don't know and to state this as we process each one of these note cards. And we track this for each note card, and now we know our exact score. How? Well, because we've got basically two piles. We've got the things that we don't know and the things that we do know. And all we do is turn them around and put an X on the ones that we don't know that we got wrong, and put a check on the ones that we do know. So we could have a really small study session where we know what we don't know and what we do know, or we could have really large study sessions over a long period of time. My favorite quote is from Data, from Next Generation. The most elementary, valuable statement in science, the beginning of wisdom, is I do not know. Thank you very much, data. What he's doing is he's admitting his uncertainty, emphasizing that the scientific humility and admitting ignorance are the foundation of true knowledge. You can say, I don't know on a per element basis in a particular domain, and eventually you'll get to a place where you do know that you do know. I'll see you soon.